Since the beginning of time with sports, there's always been bad calls, missed calls, and highly inconsistent calls. That just comes with the territory of sports and with refs being human. But in the year 2024, in both the NBA and NFL, the refereeing has been highly questionable. And it's gotten so bad, fans in both sports are questioning how legit both these sports leagues are.
Be a man to make a call.
You're right. Unsportsmanlike conduct. 88 flags.
And look, being a massive basketball fan, I hope basketball isn't rigged. But looking at some of these refs, at the very least, they're slanted in a certain team's direction. As watching Lakers vs. Raptors, some of the most egregious foul calls of all time that left me dumbfounded. As in the fourth quarter, Toronto had a whopping 2 free throws to the Lakers' 23. Look, I understand foul calls in certain games can favor one team, but for a single quarter to be 23-2, something fishy is going on. And looking at Austin Reeves being treated like Larry Bird 2.0, a prime Jerry West, the calls this guy was getting, the late calls he was getting, it boggles the mind.
Back and forth. Goes Reeves on its way. Late whistle. Oh, very late whistle.
The whistle! You gotta be out of your mind! That is the worst call that I have ever seen! I mean, I'm out here busting my butt, and you come in here with a bush league call like that? That is total bullcrap!
And looking at someone like Scotty Barnes, who this year will be an all-star, he's being treated like chopped liver. Again, I don't want to say basketball is rigged, but the NBA at this point, the foul calls are so inconsistent from night to night and from team to team. And look, putting the conspiracy hat on, if the NBA wants to make money, which they are a business, a team like the Lakers being in the playoffs, being in the play-in tournament, is highly beneficial for their bottom line. And having a team like the Jazz in there, for ratings, it just spells disaster. The motive to rig games or sway games in certain ways is definitely there. And of course, in the past, in the 2000s, with the LA Lakers, we saw certain games being rigged and slanted in their favor. Now, as of 2024, of course, very fishy refereeing, but there's no solid proof these games are rigged or the refs are somehow winning money off their calls or non-calls.
How much you got that parlay? Hey, I know you got something on it.
And looking at LeBron Ramon James, when it comes to referees and their foul calls, this guy is one of the biggest complainers of all time. During games, after games, and even before games. And looking at 2024 versus Minnesota, of course, this guy complained for hours on end, even days on end, about his foot clearly being on the line. And of course, last year versus Boston, till this day, still complaining about the non-foul call. And look, LeBron, he was fouled, and that play was obviously missed. But here's the hypocrisy. When LeBron has calls go against him, he'll chew out the refs for days, weeks, months, even years. Hear for yourself.
I don't get it. I'm attacking the paint just as much as any of the other guys in this league that's shooting double-digit free throws a night. And, I don't get it. I don't understand it.
Now right there, LeBron James is complaining, but when he drives, he doesn't get foul calls, and he's pissed about that. Now here's the thing. Versus Toronto and LA got 23 free throws in the fourth quarter. Here's LeBron's response to the Raptors only having 2.
How did you see did you see it called fairly in the fourth quarter?
I felt like they fouled and we didn't.
You sit on a throne of lies.
The hypocrisy doesn't get more blatant than in those 2 clips. When the refs go LeBron's way, he's fine with it. But when they don't, the game needs to be changed and the whole NBA needs to be investigated. When it comes to sports figures, public figures, and just people in general, when they have no standards, I have very little time for that. And LeBron's outrage not being consistent is telling about him and his overall era of NBA basketball. And doing one more comparison, looking at the so-called GOAT when he was 38, that call versus Boston that didn't go his way. Look how he complained, cried, and sprawled out on the floor. That is the so-called GOAT, and how he takes a bad call. Compared to Jaylen Brown versus Indiana, who also had a bad call, which player right here was like a veteran pro, and which one was like a sore loser and a player in his third season? And what makes this even funnier is LeBron actually commented on Jaylen Brown and that terrible foul call not being called. And he said, quote, that game was ruined because of a BS foul call. Look, LeBron, where's that same energy when your team benefits from BS foul calls versus the Raptors? It's surprisingly not there. And for Lakers fans, LeBron fans alike, who claim LA gets a quote-unquote bad whistle, here's the facts. The Lakers this year ranked 28th in drives per game, 25th in paint touches, and 25th in post-ups. Not great numbers, but for them, they ranked 8th in free throws per game. Keep that in mind. The Lakers also rank dead last in fouls called against them and 4th in fouls drawn per game, which is positive. Being dead last in fouls called on and 4th in fouls called for is the biggest discrepancy out of any NBA team this season, and it's not even close.
Do you smell it? That smell.
Now, looking at LeBron James, also a constant complainer about free throws, here's the facts. LeBron this year ranks 23rd in post-ups at 2.1 per game, and 53rd in drives at 10.4 exactly. Now for free throws per game, he ranks 24th, which is pretty fair. Now, keeping that in mind, to debunk the overall notion LeBron James doesn't get a fair whistle, here's a comparison. Jokic this year ranks 1st in post-ups per game at just under 7, and 1st in total paint touches, meaning the Joker is at the basket in the paint on the block virtually 24/7. Despite that, the Joker takes 5.6 free throws per game, which is lower than LeBron James. Now looking at Kawhi, also in Los Angeles and a perimeter player. This year the Claw ranks 38th in drives per game, ahead of LeBron James, and 17th in post-ups, also ahead of LeBron James. But when it comes to free throws, Kawhi surprisingly only takes 4.4, which ranks 42nd in the NBA, surprisingly behind LeBron James. Now here's the point. Both Kawhi and the Joker don't get as many foul calls as they should based off the stats. But for both these players, how many times they complained, begged for foul calls, and complained to the media or fans post-game? Can't remember that happening in recent history. But for LeBron James, complaining about foul calls about the referees, it's a nightly occurrence. And let me just say one thing. LeBron, of course, is a great player. But to be honest, his go-to move for 20 years is to go in the lane, tuck the ball, 2 steps, Emmitt Smith style, barrel to the basket, and get 2 points. If we're being honest, half LeBron's drives are an offensive foul, him pushing off, or just slamming into players. Again, going to show you guys, LeBron's quote-unquote not fair whistle is a complete myth.
It's fiction. We made it up. We made this one up. It's a made-up tale. It's a total fabrication.
And to go full circle with the whole rigged debate, Lakers debate, look, I desperately want to believe the NBA is not rigged. I love basketball and have always loved it. But look, if you want to be kind of black-pilled on this, negative on this, the NBA since 2014 has been knee-deep with gambling. And of course, gambling, over-unders, got to hit this point total, turnover total, foul call total. There's tons of things to bet on and a lot of incentive to make money for the referees, the coaches, and even some players. And look, in 10 years time, 20 years time, I can virtually guarantee at least one ref out there had some sort of parlay with a distant cousin, a nephew, their third aunt, that they had a parlay for that they made hit on any given night. So, as always, thank you guys for watching, hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next time.